Before we start, I want to quickly announce a new shirt in our Teespring store. Bring home the Veggie Bacon, which was inspired by No Bullshit's now most popular video, Sweden is Feminizing Boys.
And where's your partner?
At work.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody's got to bring home the veggie bacon.
Wow, what a classic line. And it makes an even better t-shirt. We've also got Bring Home the Veggie Bacon sweaters, stickers, and coffee mugs. Link to our store is below, or just type in the address teespring.com/veggiebacon. Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're talking about the new Lord of the Flies movie remake that was just announced this week. When I first heard about it, I cringed for obvious reasons. These all-girl remakes have been going around a lot lately, and they've almost always been horrible. Ghostbusters 2016, of course, comes to mind, which was a total disaster, and not the kind of disaster that's fun to watch, believe me. And on Netflix, there's that awful Full House sequel series that's all female leads, and coincidentally, it's got no laughs anymore. They're even filming a new all-female Ocean's 11 that's probably gonna be terrible too. You know how I know? Because it's fucking starring Rihanna, who, despite being pushed into at least 2 or 3 blockbusters by now, she still can't act her way out of a paper bag. You could literally soak that paper bag in water and she still wouldn't be able to read a line convincing enough to tear through.
My dad said they'd come. Said it my whole life.
But I digress. So naturally, when I heard about this all-girls Lord of the Flies this week, I flinched pretty hard. I'm not a big fan of the original movies or book or anything, but just hearing all-female anything is enough to cringe nowadays. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not against girl movies or girl actors or anything like that. It's just that most of the time these girl remakes not only suck, they're also driven by feminism and girl power and all that bullshit. And these are the wrong reasons to make a movie, basically. The other thing is, when I looked into this Lord of the Flies story further, it wasn't really the controversy I was expecting. Let me show you. Let's take a look at this article from The Guardian about it, titled, "Someone Missed the Point. Lord of the Flies All-Girls Remake Spawns Social Media Backlash." Let's check it out. First, they recap the original story, which of course is a tale of a group of boys who get stranded on a desert island, kind of like Gilligan's Island without the hot chicks. The stranded boys group together to survive. They even form a little makeshift governing system that unfortunately quickly falls apart, forcing the stranded boys to resort to violence, savagery, and even murder. The story is really a tale about the weaknesses and follies of mankind, and the innate savagery of masculine culture and government itself. Now, that all sounds good to me so far. The Guardian's recapping it okay, but there's one part that's worth noting. The masculine culture part of their summary is a little questionable, because this article is from The Guardian after all. Of course, their interpretation of The Lord of the Flies is going to harp heavily on toxic masculinity and those types of readings. They might even say the Fly story is a sort of satire of the patriarchy, and perhaps it is, but I just wouldn't say all this using the negative, condemning tones The Guardian and other SJW type people use here. There's nothing wrong with men and male traits, of course, even in Lord of the Flies. I really think the book is more of a survival dystopia kind of story, with themes of male egos and masculinity, sure, but to me, it's just as much a story about all humankind as it is about boys and men and mankind. Anyways, let's get back to the article. It looks like the first gripe they have with this remake is the authors, as evidenced by this tweet they highlight from Scott Mendelson. It says, "Dudes writing a female version of Lord of the Flies," in all caps, "is like a gift of the problematic think piece gods." And you know he's an SJW type because he said problematic unironically. Side note, I also hate when people say unironically too much, but it does fit here, even though it's not a real word. Regardless, Scott may have a point. Guys writing an all-female film sounds like a bad idea on face value, but I don't think it's impossible. It's not unheard of, to say the least. It just depends on the writers and their abilities. Let's move on to the second grievance, because this is where things get juicy. Here the article reads, "The gender-flipped film began trending on Twitter soon after the announcement, with many questioning whether the same thing would happen if a bunch of young women were left to their own devices. Quote, the plot of that book wouldn't happen with all women," said writer and commentator Roxane Gay. Now I actually agree with Roxane Gay here a bit. Great name, by the way. Except I think we have different reasonings for why the plot of the book wouldn't happen with all women. It sounds like from the tone and tenor of this backlash, these people believe the plot of the book wouldn't happen because women are superior to men, and they would never break down and end up fighting and killing each other. And if anyone else is thinking that, I'm really gonna have to shoot you down right there. Because the reason I think the plot of the book wouldn't happen with all women is because girls wouldn't make it a week on the island by themselves. And they certainly wouldn't band together and build a cohesive government and mini society. No fucking way. The girls would start tearing each other apart on the first damn day. We all know know how catty women could be, especially with each other. They're like wild animals. Imagine them actually out in the wild. With guys, there's more camaraderie and brotherhood. If they were stranded, at least the guys would build their camp and supplies first, before they break down and start attacking each other. Girls wouldn't even get to building anything. I mean, women have never built anything significant in the real world. They've never built their own cities or societies as it is. It's always been men doing that. So why would they do it on a deserted island? No hate, but I think the idea that women would be all peaceful and productive is fucking bullshit. Here's a newsflash, guys. Women are terrible in survival situations. That's just a fact. I've seen the show Naked and Afraid.
I mean, if I sat here for 2 more hours and then went fishing, would you have a problem with it?
I don't care what you do.
I mean, seriously, I have done so much, and I'm sorry if I need to do the same amount of work that you guys are doing all the time
No one's saying that.
No one's saying that.
I'm trying to be
Chill.
a good teammate, you know?
I understand that, and that's totally fine.
I don't want to feel pressured, and also every time I have an idea, I feel like my ideas are all shot down.
Well, that's feminism in a nutshell. They sure want to be equal to men until the going gets tough. Then women are totally fine with embracing their gender roles and taking on special privileges. But laying at home while men defend and hunt for you doesn't really sound fair to me, fucking hypocrites. Next, the article notes how some all-girl interpretations of Lord of the Flies had already been made in films like Heathers and Mean Girls, which is funny because MTV just announced a TV show remake of Heathers this week, but that's besides the point. The fact that some all-girl Lord of the Flies inspired stories have been made is a decent point, but you gotta ignore the fact that these two interpretations are just girls being catty and fighting about boys at high school. Sure, the movie Heathers takes some serious turns, but it's still nothing compared to the boys in Lord of the Flies who survive on a fucking stranded island. These girls' versions are sugarcoated to say the least. The naysayers and their naivete is further exemplified by this tweet from Charles Clymer. We're literally living in an all-male Lord of the Flies right now. But sure, let's see 2 male writers describe how women would be worse. First of all, we're not in Lord of the Flies now. We're not stranded on an island. We're in advanced Western civilizations. I just ordered a pizza in an app on my iPhone. It'll be here in 20 minutes. I would hardly compare us to Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Wilson! Wilson!
Second point, yes, we're in a male world because men banded together over generations and built our towns, cities, and roads. You say we're in a male world like that's a bad thing. Well, if women want to start building their own cities and countries, go right ahead. No one's stopping you. But if that doesn't work out and you want to live in this man-made world, then it's time to fucking stop complaining about it. Stop with the man-made, misogynistic patriarchy bullshit, or we're gonna throw you out into the real woods, into the real world, naked and afraid style. You'll come back running to the patriarchy in less than a week. Now, the last part of this tweet is very telling. Let's see 2 male writers describe how women would be worse. I think a lot of this backlash is coming from people who think like this. They're afraid to see what women might act like in a Lord of the Flies survival situation. And I have a feeling they're scared of seeing an accurate portrayal where women fight, complain, and get nothing done. Much like that Naked and Afraid shit we saw earlier. I really think the naysayers are truly afraid of seeing how bad women will fare in a Lord of the Flies remake. And that actually makes me more interested in seeing it. I hope the writer and director do make a realistic attempt at this. I would watch it, but I also have my doubts. This movie may just fall into the same pro-feminism, girl power bullshit all those other crappy women remakes do, and that would be a real shame. Before we go, I asked you guys on Twitter last night to name some other terrible movie ideas, like these all-girls ones. I got things started off with proposing an all-girl Ninja Turtles remake. Maybe instead of being obsessed with pizza, the Turtles could champion nail polisher, handbags. Stuff in a Box here suggested an all-Zer version of Charlie's Angels. Call it non-gender specific leaders of deity of your choice. Unless you don't believe in a god, then sorry. Very nice one there. I like it. And instead of the girls calling Bosley for their missions, they could call some female tranny kind of person like, say, Michelle Obama. I love it. Next, Bramps Forrester tweeted an all-girl Goonies reboot. Truffle Shuffle, more like Trigger Shuffle. Ha! Yeah, that could work too. And instead of the boys searching for pirate treasure, it would be the girl Goonies searching for a legendary outlet mall with a 40% off sale on women's shoes. Ooh. Then there's this one, No Country for Old Women, which will probably have to be changed to No Country for Cougar Women, because calling women old is so misogynistic. And last we got Boys in the Hood, but with girls. Sisters in the Hood, I guess. And instead of the men who get wrapped up into drugs and gangs of the ghetto, Sisters in the Hood will have the girls getting pregnant and going on welfare welfare while still trying to squeeze in their hair appointments. Hey, this weave ain't gonna sew itself in, nigga. In the end, Lord of the Flies with all girls really isn't the worst idea in the world if they decide to be honest and realistic about it. I would be interested in seeing how much more dramatic and antagonistic girls could be in that kind of survival situation. But who knows? This could be another all-girls movie flop, like last year's Ghostbusters. What do you guys think? Is the Lord of the Flies reboot a good idea? Would the original events of the book happen with an all-girls group? And what's your favorite idea for the next all-girls movie reboot? Comment below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Don't forget to check out our merch store to get that new Bring Home the Veggie Bacon t-shirt. I know mine's in the mail already. Thanks again for watching. See y'all next time.
You know what else he said? He said, I hope I ain't around when that day comes.